goodness, I've got the sun in front of me, hey, which is very welcome on this otherwise very cold day. And especially with a subject that's quite serious. Ooh, welcome. Thank you for coming along. And yes, we're going to talk about some thoughts that I've had about how someone like me can be marginalized from society. So we're going to do this in 3 phases. I'm going to start with a story, a recent experience I had, and then I'm going to talk about children and their relation, their sort of commonality with people who live on the streets, our brothers and sisters who are otherwise called homeless, or how they relate to children, maybe let's put it that way. And then I'm going to bring it all around and come back to how someone like me can be marginalized from society, and actually how all of us, are susceptible to it. So let us begin. So we start first with the story, and it's a couple weeks old maybe, and it was my venturing into the fresh market here in London, Canada, which I was very excited about because I was quite looking forward to locally sourced foods and potentially meeting farmers who were selling their goods, that sort of thing, just connecting with people who are of the same sort of mind set, you know, locally produced foods, seasonal foods, that sort of thing. Anyways, I go in, and I've said this before, however I'll relay it again, whereby, you know, when I'm going somewhere, I want everybody to feel good as I do, and I don't go somewhere unless my cup is already full. So so I'm going there, my cup is full, I feel good, whatever. And all that said, you know, again, my intention is for people to feel good around me, and I don't want to be a cause of someone not feeling good. So all that to say, I've got my mouth covered, or I'm following protocol, all that kind of jazz. And kind of. I use a jersey scarf. It's a cloth, and it's black, so I kind of look like a ninja, or that's how I see myself. Whatever, it's been okay. Nobody's said anything about that. And so anyways, I get in there. I'm so happy to be inside. And I do a walk around first, and I come across a woman who's selling solely apples, which I wanted. They're Macintosh, which I love. So I really, I wanted those, and I greeted her, and she kind of looked at me and just said hello. And I mean, it was a very sort of monotonous, like that was it. There was nothing else. She was scared. It was really bizarre. Anyways, so I walk around, whatever, and then I decide, do you know what? I want to go back to that woman. I want to give her the benefit of the doubt that actually, you know, I don't want to judge her in any way, you know, and I don't. Anyway, so I go back and I stand in front of her stall, and I ask her for some apples, and she asks me which ones I would like, and I said quite happily, any batch that you would give me by your hands is perfect, because I know it's full of love. And she just stared at me again, and it was this sort of, I do not compute. And I had my money ready. I had like my wallet's out and everything, and I just said to her, I just looked at her, and I said, you know what? Have a really beautiful day. And I walked off, and that was it. And then I went over to another stall, which was quite a bit busier. With this woman, there was nobody else there the first or second time that I had passed by. And so I go over to the next place, which is really busy. There's 4 people working there because it's bigger. And so I'm waiting a little bit because, you know, I'm ready to pay. I know what I want and everything, but I'm in no rush. It's no big deal. I'm just, you know, contemplating what's just happened. But I'm okay. And then this girl comes up and she's like, I'm so sorry that you had to wait. And I was like, no big deal. No, no, no. And she's so lovely. So I just say to her, God, you know, what a beautiful smile you have. And she melted. She really melted. And I melted. And then we're melting together, you know, and everything that just happened, it's absolutely gone 5 minutes later, not even. And you know, I say to her, I can feel, you know, your smile, though your mouth is covered and is mine, you know, I can see it in your eyes, whatever. And she was so lovely. We had a conversation. I did relay the story that just happened. So, and that I was ever more, you know, appreciative that it was her that was helping me with my apples, was serving me, you know. And we bid each other a beautiful day. And I just said, you know, just keep shining. This is what the world needs, your smile. And so that was it. So that's done. Now, actually, so let's just look at that for a moment. And really, you know, yes, I am making an assumption that I was being judged because actually nobody else there was wearing anything but like the traditional sort of I-95. I don't know what that, the blue or white traditional mask. And there I was, right? Different than everybody else. So I imagine that her guard went up. Again, I don't know. This is just my surmise, you know. And because, and I come to this because I know that, you know, I peek over at the mainstream media and I see what's being said about people who are unvaccinated, and you know how we have become the bane of society, that we are driving numbers up and blah blah blah, all that stuff, you know, whatever, it's okay. I don't mind, don't care. And then the further to that are studies coming out that actually cloth masks are useless, right? Actually, I would love to direct your attention to, actually, I'll put a link below, gentleman named Chris Schaefer, a Canadian respiratory specialist, who has a beautiful video where he's, I think he's got 5 different kinds of masks and a number of them, and he's measuring the outflow of carbon dioxide and the inflow of oxygen with a, I can't remember what it's called, with a device, and showing the differences. I'll put a link because it's incredible, and I know that even with a cloth mask, that the outflow of carbon dioxide is actually a cloth mask is actually harmful, more harmful for me than than that regular mask, because it's actually holding things, holding in carbon dioxide and recycling, blah blah blah. Anyways, so it's not good for me. However, I still choose to use that because I don't want to look like everybody else. That's the little shit in me, I suppose. So let's go into the next part, and how people who live on the streets are likened to children first entering the school system. If you have children, you've probably experienced this, where your child, when you first drop them off at school, was kicking and screaming and crying and no, don't want to be here, sort of thing. Not all kids, right? I mean, some fall right into line, and it's perfect. School is perfect for them. But there are those children who kick up a fuss, right? And they really act out, and they're really expressive, and that expression of theirs gets dimmed down when they don't sort of fall into line and sit at a desk and you know, do what they're meant to at 5 years old or whatever, you know, and they just don't sit quietly because they can't. They're an expression of light, love, God, whatever, and creative, especially as a child, you know, they just want to express. So not every kid is the same. But these guys, these little wee ones, you know, soon get diagnosed with ADHD and all that kind of jazz, and then, you know, they're on to the Ritalin and all that kind of stuff, and that's a different story. God bless them. So children, right, who don't fall in line with the other kids around, don't fall in line with what the teacher is saying, are sort of the baddies, and, you know, acting up, and they just don't fall into line. Their bright light can't be stuffed into a square peg, essentially, right? Okay, so now let's go over to our brothers and sisters who live on the streets. And for some, it's a choice. For others, they're pushed onto the street. But I want to talk about the ones like Mike, who I met last year. And Mike was a man who lived close to the river. I mean, he was around in the area, but he was often around the river, according to him, the River Thames here in London, and he would just sort of live in the forest, and we had a conversation. I was so curious, as often I am. I've spoken to many of these beautiful souls, really, and so we chatted for, I don't know, maybe 2 hours or something. It was long. We just sat in the sun and had a big conversation and whatever. And I said, tell me, like, just, you know, why are you here? Oh, you know, and he said, it just doesn't make sense to me. You know, he was a high school dropout, and incredibly intelligent, and really, like, the conversation was so beautiful. And I said, how is this, you know, how has the situation in the world affected you? This is when I had soon after I had made the flight to Canada from Europe, and so it was, when did I come back? Mid-July, no, early July 2020, so it would have been a few months after. So I was very curious how he was affected, and people that he knew. And he said, it's incredible how, you know, streets are being beautified. They're putting, you know, medians in the middle of big roads, and they're hoisting up trees and flowers and all kinds of stuff. But we're being left in the dust. No one really gives a shit. They've closed down shelters, whatever. In essence, like, yeah, that was it. No one really cares. You know, he went so far as to say that, you know, public bathrooms, well, for public use, have even been locked. So, I mean, which is, like, okay in the summertime, right? Actually, it's not okay, period. It's not okay. What am I saying? But anyways, so, you know, Mike, incredibly intelligent guy, you know, and he's not the only one. Like, there are people who, you know, I'm sure you can find on YouTube right now, you know, stories of people who are well-to-do, absolutely fine, don't need to be on the street, whatever, but choose to just experiment and go on the street for, like, you know, 3 days, 5 days, or whatever, and they're just. There's a story I remember from a long time ago, you know, and they're really surprised at, like, how they get treated, you know, as someone who's like a classical musician or something, you know, and just it turns into a panhandler on the street and is treated like dirt, you know, all just treated like dirt. Or what do? In our great arrogance, my thinking, and me too, you know, I don't call you arrogant. I don't call anyone arrogant without looking at myself. And there I have, you know, numerous times like, oh, give them all my clothes and, you know, and I'll give them, you know, a $5 and whatever. Like, honest to goodness, do you think that they need more clothes? You know, I was at a center in Bratislava where I cooked for my brothers and sisters, and I saw like the room that was stacked with clothing, stacked to the roof, and like they're like, no, please don't give us your clothes, you know, because we've got an abundance of them. Winter jackets, that sort of thing, yes, but like clothes, no. So all that to say, and I don't know where Mike is now. I hope he's okay. I hope he's, you know, sheltered and whatever, because it's very, very, very cold here this year. I hope he's all right. Never saw him again. But for me, and actually, well, for me, someone like Mike, you know, and actually, he would tell me stories about like how he does things on purpose. Like he'll have a shopping cart and he'll put stuff in it, and he'll arrange it in a certain way and put it somewhere where he can see how people react to it. Like he's totally experimenting and doing stuff. And he knew, like in the forest, or there's a football field around, and oh, he had so many stories. He had so many stories. He was just watching people. He was just observing. So, you know, all that to say, like, we've just turned a blind eye. And this is how marginalization of people, any person, happens. Like, we have accepted that it's okay that people are on the street when it's cold outside, when it's extremely hot outside. We've somehow accepted that to be okay. And, you know, I walked down, it was Dundas Street here in London, which is absolutely desolate. You know, aside from people just sleeping on the road, you know, or tucked away into sort of an alcove, the entranceway of a shop. And, oh man, I remember when these thoughts started to come to me, you know, walking by one day and just looking at them, sleeping there, going, wait a second, what the fuck? How have I been okay with this? What am I going to do now? Go home and bring a blanket and cover them? No, that's not what this is about, actually. And it's like the child, you know, the child is saying, listen to me. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to, you know, I just want to be me, right? And that's what I see the brothers and sisters on the road. They started out that way, not all of them, but a lot of them started out that way to make a point. So just as we've sequestered or you know, dimmed down the light of children who were unruly and too expressive and not following directive, you know, they've become those on the streets, in my surmise. You know? I think those guys, having seen them, having observed them, having spoken to them, they just never got the gist of the system. It didn't work for them. So they decided, fuck it, just gonna live on the road, on the streets. You know, and then like, even if it was that in the beginning, you know, and they're okay, whatever, like, what happens to you if you're too cold? Well, you go inside. Here we are, we've got the luxury of having this phone and we're sheltered, I've got the sun shining on me, it's a beautiful day, whatever. But when we're cold, we just go inside, right? And we're not affected by the cold. Could you imagine being out there day in and day out? And then, you know, on the opposite side of things, there's the, you know, the extreme heat, you know, which well, yeah. Could you imagine? You know, we pop into our homes and we go into the air conditioning or into wherever, into a mall or whatever, you know. They're looked upon as secondary citizens. And so, let's bring this all together, shall we? So I walked into another fresh market, actually, and it's all community-based. You know, they're very proud to say that. And I walked in one day early. It was just while I was out for a walk, and I just wanted to know what time they were open until, so I would go back later and see. I had, you know, gone on the website and I was so excited about it because it's exactly like sort of my dream, and it was literally at that place I was staying at. It was about 4 minutes away, so it was perfect. And I saw their Instagram account, and you know, like, awesome, you know, locally sourced food, and you could volunteer there and in exchange for food, that sort of thing, or get a discount, whatever. Sounded so good. So I walked in. I only had my like winter scarf, so I nestled that in really tight. And there was one person working there. She came up towards me really fast and she said, "We're very strict here. You'll need to wear a proper mask." And I said, I'm just here to ask what time you're open until. And she said, that's fine. We're open to la la la, whatever. And she said, "But you'll need to wear a mask." And I said, "Do I need to look like you?" And of course, she's wearing the blue one, whatever. And there was a bit of a pause, and I said, or I can't remember exactly. She said, "Well, you'll need more than what you've got right now." I said, "That's fine. I've got like a jersey scarf that I use, and I said, I can double it if you want, triple it, whatever. I just want to be in here. I love this. I've seen your website, la 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 la. And I'm so happy to be here, you know." And I said, "Yeah, I came back from Europe because of this situation in the world, and I'm used to fresh markets and stuff. So this is the first one that I've come across that I really love, or I love the idea of. So I really want to be here." And we had a lovely conversation. We were on a first name basis, and I was so looking forward to returning to her when I went back later. It wasn't her when I went back later, and I was prepared. I had my scarf, whatever. Don't look like everybody else. So a woman came up, and actually she looked familiar from the website, and I said, "Are you the founder?" before she said anything, and she said, "Co-founder, whatever." And then we got into a conversation before her opportunity to ask me anything about the mask, and I was really, again, really happy, elated to be there. A little bit of trepidation because I don't look like there were only 2 people in there, and they both worked there. So whatever, fine, I'm in. We've had this wonderful conversation. She leaves me alone. I get to shop. I'm walking around, and wow, prices are astronomical. And that's when things start crumbling even more. And this relates to being marginalized from society. Because I thought of my brothers and sisters on the road, and I thought how they should be eating, you know, non-GMO and organic. I think about, you know, high school students. Actually, no, they're still living with their parents generally. But I think about college students and university students, how they should be eating the best food to feed their minds. And they're generally skint. eating KD, craft dinner, and burgers and the local fast food. Like, we've got it. Do you see what I mean? Let me just outline that picture. So there I am. I'm in there. I pick up one thing because it's really pricey. But you see, like, it's not like I can afford to shop there, you know, on a regular basis. No, I don't want to say that. What I wish to say is, I want to shop there. I want non-GMO food. I want locally sourced food. So I will go there to purchase it. But then, you know what that said to me? It said, well, I'm better than someone else who can't afford this stuff, or chooses not to go there and maybe buy less and deal with less, and but pay more. And that whole thing rattled me. Really did. Didn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And then you know, there's a lot of people. I'm not coming down on anyone. This is, you know, me just expressing myself and my thoughts and ideas. You know how we achieve a certain class of or status, and you know, yeah, I shop at Whole Foods and I shop at the local, you know, it takes a good paycheck to be able to do that generally, right? Just do it. I want everybody to do that. I want all grocery stores to be full of, you know, non-GMO, beautiful food for everybody. So I will go back there again. I think. Not until it's available for everybody. You know? So, okay, right, let's get to the end here. So, we turned a blind eye to the child. Just, you know, go with the flow, kid. You know, let's get some Ritalin in you. Well, because, well, I'm not coming down on parents. I mean, if you don't know, you don't know, right? And especially about Ritalin and what it does and is. You are, that's the best information one has and goes with it, right? Especially trusting authorities. We've turned a blind eye to our brothers and sisters on the streets, somehow accepted that it's okay that they're out there in the extreme cold and extreme heat, and even that, like, we've just accepted that there's people that live on the road. Me, I did that. I accepted that. And now, let's go to the next step, where someone like me is being marginalized from society right now. And if it could happen to me, there's another step. And next it'll be you. Unless we all look at each other as human beings that have eyes, ears, a heart that beats. We all poo. So this goes in steps, right? So right now, if you look in the mainstream media, and I do pop in and out of there, yeah, we're the baddies, the unvaccinated. We're the ones that are carrying this whole thing. We're the ones that are, you know, the forerunners because we're rebellious. Just like the child. Just like those on the streets. We're somehow stupid. We've lost the plot. People are concerned about us. Those closest to us. Concerned. Because I'm not following directive. just like the kid. Just like the brothers and sisters on the street. So what? I have an idea of how to work with the kids. I have been working with the kids. Not an idea. There's a very good outline in my mind to just continue and work on them maintaining their light, and their magnificence, their brilliance, their creativity, their expression. And then the idea comes to actually be of greater service to those on the street. So now that I'm being marginalized, because I'm wearing not the mask that I should, the mainstream media is saying those cloth masks, not good enough. Can you help me? Can you take a stand? You know, or help us? Those who have lost so much, walked away from jobs because they won't do the thing, they won't get the job, and you know, so many people have lost their jobs. So many people have lost their livelihoods. Why? Actually, I'll finish this up and just pressing upon being marginalized from society with a couple of examples. The first one is of, I talked about this in a recent video. It's by Freddie, a man named Freddie, who runs a YouTube channel, or is part of a YouTube channel called Unheard, UNHERD. And he's interviewing people, right? So when Austria mandated vaccines for everybody, and until then, those who weren't going to go with the flow had to stay home. When that happened, he went around Vienna and in the old quarters, very rich quarters, and he just interviewed people. And the people he was interviewing, they was shopping around, and you know, and the people that Freddie interviewed, all of them were like, yeah, punish them. They're not, why shouldn't they do what everyone else is doing? Right? The next example, this just came my way, is of I don't know who I don't know what the show is, but it's a woman in Quebec who Canada, who has I suppose a television show, and she's interviewing numerous children who are being asked the question, you know, about people like myself. What should we do with people who don't get vaccinated? We should punish them. We should throw them in jail. These are children. Children whose delicate minds, well, I leave that. I leave you with that. All right, let's finish this video with one last thing, and that is how any medical procedure requires full consent of the person who might need that procedure. A medical procedure, according to the Constitution, is anything that alters your physical or mental physiological health. Do you know what does that? So do you know what actually is defined as medical procedure? Allow me to tell you. A mask, social distancing. Why is that? Mentally. Hand sanitizer. The vaccine. Of course. And the fifth one is all those testing. PCR testing, the antigen testing, all that sort of testing. All medical procedures, every single one of them, I think there's more, those are the ones I remember, everything requires your consent. I leave you with that. God bless you, and so much love. Onwards and upwards, okay? Onwards and